Are there advantages to aging? Yes, I am Debbi-Jo Horton, and welcome to Advantages to Aging. Join my guests and I as we discuss aging and what makes for a healthy lifestyle, which results in a quality life. Thank you for joining me today. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And today I have with me Jill Gordon. She is a health coach and she actually does a lot of weight loss as well. And you're probably going like, what? Wait. I truly believe in abundance, as does Jill. There is more than enough to go around. And oftentimes, you need a little bit of both, right? Welcome, Jill.
Thank you, DJ.
And we're going to talk today, I think, about aging and then feeding your body to recharge your metabolism, because as we age, right, our metabolism slows down.
Yes.
And it does for the best of us. We can be like going along like crazy, especially like I used to not be able to keep any weight on as a kid. Like I couldn't. And
Yeah.
then that switch turned after
Yeah.
I had my hysterectomy, and it was like now it's like two different people with two
Yeah.
different metabolisms.
Yeah. It happens to us, DJ. And I just always want to start off by saying it's not your fault. Like it's nothing, like you said, it's nothing you're doing. It's just a product of it is a product of aging. We build up lean muscle mass like into our 20s and 30s. And then at age 30, our lean muscle mass starts to decline. So again, it's not our fault. And the less lean muscle mass we have, the metabolism is going to slow down. And again, DJ, if you don't do anything, like if you don't change your eating habits, you could potentially, and I'm going to say, I know this is not great news, but I'm going to give you some good news, but this isn't great news. You could gain zero point 0.5 to like 1.5 pound a year. Like, let's say you change nothing, like you didn't eat more, you know what I mean? You're staying the same. So that's not really your fault, right? You didn't do anything different, but you're like, what's going on here? I'm gaining weight. But that's just because your body metabolically is changing and you're losing that lean muscle mass. So that's okay. So that's not the great news, but we're not here to talk about not the great news, right?
Right. I was going to say, let's get to the great news.
Great news is with some information, right? We can kind of give our body a little bit of a tune up.
I like that. A little tune up.
A little tune up and a little metabolic switch, and two tips that I really want to share as we age. So let's not focus on what we can't do. Let's focus on what we can't do. Two things that I want to talk about, DJ, little tips are I want you to think about protein pacing, right? Protein pacing is the concept of eating protein spread evenly throughout the course of the day, right? Because again, the whole goal is we want to combat that loss of muscle mass, increase that lean muscle mass, and we want to decrease fat mass, right? So those are the two things we want to happen simultaneously. Not easy to do. But if we can eat protein throughout the day, especially in the morning. So when you think about the standard American diet, right, might be cereal, bagels, pancakes, waffles, and then we move on gradually later in the day and the protein starts to, get more increased, especially dinner. That's kind of a standard American diet. Let's flip that switch and let's really think about getting that protein early on in the day. Let's consume 4 to 6 meals throughout the day. Protein at every meal, like 20 to 40 grams, right? That's not only going to help build your lean muscle mass, it's going to help you be nourished. Protein keeps you fuller longer, right? So it's going to keep you satisfied. So you're going to not have as many cravings overall, right? You're going to keep your appetite kind of consistent. And that engine, right? It's an engine that needs to kind of continuously be fueled. You don't want it to get on empty, right? Right? You don't want it ever to be depleted. So that's why I want you to think about having protein throughout each meal. So 4 to 6 meals, 20 to 40 grams, right? It's going to do a lot. So that's the concept of protein pacing. So that's my tip number one. That's going to help rev up that metabolism.
And that's a great tip. You know why? Because a lot of times when people think about losing weight, they're thinking about reducing the amount of protein, not realizing that the more protein you have, the easier it is to lose weight, as long as you're having the right kinds of proteins. Like you don't want to be eating, real fatty
big
meats
burger.
and stuff.
Right.
Right, right.
Right. Lean
Right.
proteins, right?
And even a good steak is okay,
Right.
as long as it's not, like you said, the greasy burger.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think the number one thing I tell people, DJ, and it sounds like you guys, to lose weight, we need to eat, right?
You
That's
do.
that's the number one thing. I think people just think like deprive, deprive, deprive,
Mhm.
and they want to reduce, reduce, reduce.
And that's not sustainable.
That's not sustainable. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't do good for your energy,
Right.
or your mood. You know what I mean? So, food needs to be considered fuel, right? Again, it's that filling up that gas tank. It needs to be fuel. So
Right.
eating energy throughout the day, which is going to boost your mood. Again, you're never at that starving point, right? Which is
Yes.
super important, you know?
Right. So you
So
hinted at a second tip?
I do have a second tip. I'm a big believer. I was introduced to this concept of intermittent fasting about 10 years ago. And I will tell you, I went to school. I'm a registered dietitian. I went to school. I wasn't trained in intermittent fasting. It was not something I honestly ever heard of. So I've been learning over the last like 9, 10 years about it. And intermittent fasting, I know it sounds weird. It's like, wait a minute, we're going to fast? Isn't that like counter? Didn't you just say I need to eat? You know, you just told me to eat. Now you're telling me to fast. So, but I want you to think of intermittent fasting as, again, as Americans, think about this, DJ. We eat around the clock. Like we have so much access to food, right? We're eating,
We
eating,
do.
eating. We're snacking a lot. We're grazing a lot. We're eating, eating, eating. Our body really doesn't have a chance to kind of fast and recharge. So, what a fast does is it really, again, break fast, right? We go to bed and we recharge things, we restore when we sleep. So, when we're not eating, it really gives, I want you to think about it like your phone going into low power mode. So, you're conserving, like your
Right.
digestive system is taking a break because when our body's focused on digestion, it doesn't target our fat. But when we give the digestive system a break, we can actually start to target that fat. So that's what intermittent fasting does. It gives digestive system a break, which is going to help with weight loss, right? But it also is going to help with a process called autophagy. Now, autophagy is like repairing, like discarding old cells. So almost like removing of toxins, right? So we want to get rid of cells and things that aren't serving us. And when we remove those toxins, the body is able to run more efficiently and better. Again, it's like, think about it as like giving your body a little bit of a shower on the inside, cleaning house a little bit so it recharges. You might have heard intermittent fasting in two different ways. So I'll just briefly, DJ, tell you there's kind of, again, and this is all based on the premise of we think about what we eat, which I just talked about with protein, what we eat, how much portion matters, but when. So this is timing, right? This is all about timing. Now there's windows, there's blocks, like many people have heard of the 16-8 window, where you eat kind of all your foods in like, let's say a 12 to 8 window, right? You're just eating everything 12 to 8 or 10 to 6, and then you're fasting for 16 hours, right? It's recharging. That's time restricted feeding. The second one may be a whole day fast, which is kind of like a whole day, which you reduce your calories. Again, you're not starving. Big difference. You're not depleting. You're having more, instead of your typical day, you might be having more like 500 calories. Again, so you're still giving your body fuel,
Mm.
but you're kind of putting on this low power mode so it can focus on repairing and doing other things and targeting fat loss. So that's kind of like the 2 day plan, like a whole day fast. Right?
That is interesting. I'd never heard of that.
It,
Usually when people talk about whole day fasting, it's like you don't eat, you only drink clear liquids for a day. And I always think that's like sounds like you're getting ready for a colonoscopy. Like, let's not
and
go
that's
there. So like what are the kinds of foods that you would be able to eat and like what size portions? Are you still talking about eating, a few times during the day, but
yeah,
small
absolutely.
portions? Like,
Yep.
are we talking like a small handful of nuts kind of thing?
Yes.
Although nuts are kind of higher in calories, aren't they?
Right. So again, portion right matters, right? So you're trying to get that day down to 500, 600 calories, right? So everything's just kind of like shrunk, like literally, right? You're having a
Mm.
day. So again, it's not that you're not having fuel. And I think we also realize this is kind of a liberating experience. Yes, we need food, but we really don't need as much of it as we can. Our ancestors kind of went with periods of, their bodies didn't get food, you know what I mean? And they were able to conserve. And so we just think we kind of need so much food, but we really don't. So it's just kind of a day that sort of shrunk a little bit. So you're still eating and you're still eating food. You're just kind of, your portions are smaller. You're eating small snacks. So it's about, again, like 500 calories for women, about 600 calories for men. So I know it seems weird. It really seems weird, but it really does help. Those two things really, kind of that combination, like the protein pacing combined with kind of an intermittent fast day, is really a great marriage in
That sounds
flipping
perfect.
metabolic switch.
I don't know about all of you, but I loved talking with Jill. We're definitely going to have her come back again. And you'll be able to ask her questions. She'll be monitoring this post. So if you've got questions, post those questions. And I thank you so much, Jill. That was really lots of great information.
DJ, thank you so much for having me. I loved being with you and be happy to come back and, like she said, answer any questions at all.
Do you think one of the biggest advantages to aging is all the knowledge we gain along the way? Me too. What did you learn today? Share with me in my Facebook group with the same name as this podcast, Advantages to Aging. Now hit subscribe so you don't miss all the tips to come in future episodes.